Good morning, students. This is GST 105. I am Dr. Ngozi, Ozoh of English Language and Literature Department. My topic is relationship between literature and development. Definition of literature and development. Of course, literature is imitation of society, of the people in society. It imitates an embodiment of people in society and uses words in literary text to draw out emotions, thoughts, ideas, and feelings for its readers. Literature is all about society and all about the people in society. In fact, it's an overall view of human experience. People write novels concerning what is happening in society. They are imitating the people in the society. That's why literature is very necessary in society, or very necessary as a whole, because it tells us a lot about people, our own people and other people's culture. Again, we move to development. Development encompasses everything that will help enhance human existence. General development involves all facets of life, including the development from the day you were born to the day that the person leaves the earth, and that is human development. Then apart from that, national development, everything concerning the nation, even financial part of the nation, everything concerning a particular nation or society or a country, development is inevitable. It cannot stop. Then we get to literature. There are two broad types of literature. We have oral literature and written literature. Oral literature are the ones that are passed from generation to generation orally. In the olden days, there was nothing like anything written. So they passed like poetry, prose, and drama through oral, or in oral means. So they talk to people, they discuss, they perform on stage, and people listen to them and clap for them. Probably from there they learn one or two things. That is oral literature. They have written literature, the one you have now. You have novels where you write, you have poems where you have poems written down for you. They are written literature. Whenever you buy anything, even if it is a TV, fan, anything you buy, you must see a written material inside it. That written material is called literature. It will teach you how to use that appliance or whatever that you have bought. That is part of written literature. Then we have newspapers. We have everything written down. It's literature. Written down is literature. Therefore, it is written literature. And then we have genres of literature. We have poetry, we have prose, we have drama. These are the three literary genres: poetry, prose, and drama. Let's just start with poetry. What is poetry? Poetry, of course, is the oldest form of literature. That's why I told you that oral literature started existing before written literature, because they usually talk to people through poetry before they started writing down. When they started writing down, they now started writing down novels. But originally, it was poetry, which was what? Oral. Then, it is written in words and stanzas. Lines. Poetry is written in words, lines, and stanzas. So, what is poetry actually? In poetry, the words are more technical and difficult to understand due to deliberate obstruction. The poet uses literary devices to achieve his aim more in poetry than in prose. In poetry, poets, they use literary devices like figures of speech to achieve their aim, to draw attention, to lay more emphasis on what they are saying, to tell us more about what they are saying. That is poetry for you. And then we have types of poetry. We have narrative poetry. Narrative poetry is storytelling. It's all about storytelling. These are poems that tell stories. It is the narrative poetry that tells simple stories, usually an old, interesting one, written but handed down orally from generation to generation. That is poetry, narrative poetry. In the olden days, people used to gather in market square, in the church, anywhere, and people would be telling them stories in poems, telling them stories. These stories that they tell them are what? They are orally done. They are handed over from generation to generation orally. So that is poetry for you. And then we have types of narrative poetry. We have ballad as type of narrative poetry. And then we have other types of poetry, narrative poetry, like epic. These are the two types of narrative poetry, epic and ballad. Then we have another type of poetry, sonnet. Sonnet is a 14-line poem. Of course, we have two types of sonnets. We have Shakespearean sonnet and Italian sonnet. Shakespearean sonnet has 14 lines. It has 4 stanzas. Then we have Italian sonnet. Italian sonnet has 14 lines but has 2 stanzas. So Italian sonnet has 8 lines and 6 lines. The 8 lines is called octave. Then the 6 lines is called sextet. That is for Italian sonnet. And then we have Shakespearean sonnet that has 4 stanzas. But the peculiar thing between the 2 sonnets is that they have particular rhyme for each and every one of them. Shakespearean sonnet has its own rhyming scheme, while Italian sonnet has its own rhyming scheme. And then we go to lyric. Lyric is a poem to be sung to the lyre. Lyre is a kind of musical instrument. Lyric poems are highly emotional, full of thoughts and feelings. So this is a lyric. And then we have didactic. Didactic is poem that teaches. It gives us instructions or conveys instructions or teaches a moral. Okay, and then we go to satire. Satire is a poem which holds up a society to ridicule. That is it. It attacks the society. It brings about the bad things that political people in position, people in power are doing. Again, it brings out the ills of the society. It mocks the society. So from satire, people will actually learn what actually is wrong in society. And for those people that are smart and intelligent, they will learn. And if they are part of these bad things that are happening in society, they will retrace their steps. And then you continue with types of poetry. We go to epigram. Epigram is a poem. It's usually a short, insightful statement and witty poem, often in verse form, which amuses us in a clever way. That is epigram for you. And then we go to dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue, here, there's a person recounting an experience. A poet stands to recount an experience. That is dramatic monologue. He will be talking to himself. In dramatic monologue, the speech is monopolized by someone. The audience is silent and the speaker reveals more about himself unintentionally. Because the speaker will now continue to talk, revealing more about himself unknowingly. He's telling us about himself. Dramatic monologue, only one person involved, talking to himself or talking to the audience. Then we have nonsense poems. These are poems without any logical meaning, but they may be enjoyable for their form, rhyme, and reading. That's it for you. And then we go to prose. We ask ourselves, what is prose? Prose is a continuous piece of writing. It does not appear in verse form. It does not have rhyme. It does not have reading. It does not have meter. And then we get to types of prose. We have 2 broad types of prose are fiction and non-fiction. Fiction, of course, is imaginary story that did not actually happen. It never happened. It is imaginary story that assumes some reality due to artistic handling. Of course, the word fiction is derived from Latin word factio, meaning I make. I make means what? I made it myself. Imaginary is from your brain. You imagined it and somehow you started writing it. Not that it did not happen in society. You may write something that happened in society, but you give it fictitious names, and then you add so many things and remove so many things to make your work flow very well, which means you are not writing it exactly the way it happened in society. You are now imagining a lot of things, adding your own part of the story, which makes it what? Fiction. Then there are types of fiction. We have short story, we have novella, and then we have novel. Short story. Short story is a straightforward story with simple plot and few characters, and it has about 500 to 10,000 words. Then we have novella. That's the second type of fiction. Novella is another type of fiction that contains about 10,000 to 40,000 words. Novella is a short story that does not exhibit characters in great length, and so lacks the full qualities of a novel. That is novella for you. Then we get to novel. That's the third one. Novel is a story or a write-up that is not less than 50,000 words. Novel is any story in prose. In other words, it is a complete work of prose with not less than 50,000 words. That is novel for you. Then we get to non-fiction. We get to non-fiction. Non-fiction, this is a real life story which is based on actual facts and events. We have types of non-fiction. We have autobiography. Autobiography are write-ups by an author telling us about himself, an author writing about himself. It's a true life story because it's going to tell us about himself, probably from the day he was born, according to his parents. He will tell us stories till the present day, or he will tell us stories from a particular stage in his life to whenever he wants. But the story is that it must be an author telling us his own story. And autobiography, after autobiography you have biography. Of course, in autobiography you have to use films, you have to use pictures to tell us that it actually happened. Same thing with biography. You have to put pictures, if possible videos, audios, to tell us that it actually happened. Biography is when you are writing about somebody else true life story. If I am writing about Buhari's true life story, I will now write about Buhari. Whatever that I want to write about him must be exactly what happened in his life. It must be a true life story about him. That is biography, because I am writing about somebody else. Then we have history. History is another kind of non-fiction. History is a non-fiction. Tell us history of what happened. For example, the Nigerian Civil War between 1967 and 1970. Whoever that tells such story must tell us exactly what happened in the story. Therefore, it is a real fact story. History of what happened in the past. For example, history of First World War, Second World War, and so on. You must tell us exactly how it happened. Real life story. And then we have science. Science is of course real life story because it happened. They have been investigating every day. They will keep on researching and researching to find out what is trending. These things that are trending are real life story. They are happening. People will go to the moon and come back. It's real life story. They will tell us about new drugs for a particular ailment. These are real life stories. And then we have philosophy. Philosophy, of course, is stories about people, real people, and these stories must be real stories about these people. Therefore, they are what? Non-fiction. We have essay. You write essays. You may be asked to write essay of what happened in your school. You tell us exactly what happened. They are real life stories. Then you have textbooks and academic texts. These are textbooks that you use that they will never deceive you. They are real life stories because they are there for you. They are there as a reference point. So they are real life stories. Then we have speech. Of course, people deliver speech every time. These speeches that people deliver are real life. They are what happened. You may be asked to deliver a speech maybe the governor of your state is coming to visit your school. They will be asked to deliver a speech concerning your school. You will tell us about your school. You cannot tell us lies about your school. These are real life stories. Then we go to drama. We ask ourselves, what is drama? Drama is a type of literature that exists mainly in action and can be acted on stage. Drama is simply a play, an imitation of life, a mere representation, and it combines words, action, dance, music, costume, and poetry for effectiveness. That is drama for you. Of course, drama entertains, it teaches morals and lessons and informs. Drama informs and helps to bring into focus life in action. Then we have stages in drama. We have 4 stages in drama. We have introduction or exposition, we have complications, we have climax, and then we have resolution. Then what is introduction? Introduction is the first major incident. Talking about stages in drama, it's like a hill. You go up a hill, up the hill. At the topmost, you start coming down, you descend. You ascend the hill, and then at the topmost, you start descending the hill. This is exactly the curve of stages in drama. Now, that introduction is the first major incident. So, the first action, the first group of people, they introduce themselves. That is when you start knowing people that are really that are actors and actresses. You see people introducing people. This is my wife and my daughter, and so on. The daughter came in, the wife went out, and so on. That is the introductory part of it. Introduce whatever you are going to do for us in the drama, the first major incident, and then what happened, how, what happened. That is it. And then we have complications. Complications after introduction is when we start having conflicts and difficulties. But it's a gradual process. You may have arguments. You may have serious issues that people will talk about and discuss. These are conflicts and difficulties. And gradually, it will get to the topmost part of the hill, which is the climax. This is the highest point of action and tension. That is, this climax must appear in every drama, because that is when the conflict is at the topmost. When the conflict is at the highest point, the heat is too hot. That is there, and that is when the tension is too high. Once after that climax, then it starts coming down the hill again. It starts descending the hill again. That is resolution. It gets to the end part of the drama. At the end part of the drama, maybe somebody may die, or people may die, or people may be happy, or there may be a reunion. Somehow there will be a kind of conclusion. That is what we call resolution. So we get to the next one, types of drama. We have tragedy. This is the type of drama that ends sadly. It involves a tragic hero who starts well but ends badly. Yes, tragedy, they end badly. They are the type of drama that end badly. Maybe they may end with somebody's death or war or something that is bad, and it happens somewhere like Julius. The example is Julius Caesar, Macbeth. The gods are not to blame. And then we have comedy. Comedy is less serious and ends on a happy note. The tension, intrigue, and conflict are not found in comedy. People are happy. It will start happily and end happily. And then we have example of comedy is our yes. Once you read, once you listen to news, once you listen to people discuss intelligently, you'll be able to reason well and analyze things critically. Not when a topic is brought up, you tell them that you want to go and ease yourself. Sit down and reason with people. Develop that ability, develop that creative mind, a critical mind, and analytical skills, so that it will help you in life. Then, what is the importance of literature? Literature improves one's reading, writing, and communication skills. Some of us don't even know how to write. When you are being taught in the classroom, you sit down like morons and listen without putting it down. You putting it down will enable you to think, to write, to have a creative mind. Literature teaches you about yourself. Of course, literature will tell you about yourself because you need to know more about your society, about your ethnic group, about your group, your country, about your continent. If you don't read, how will you know? If I take that Nelson Mandela, how many of you know Nelson Mandela? He's an African. Your society, your area, your environment, your own continent. If I tell you, if I name somebody else now, how do you know them? Kwame Nkrumah, who is Kwame Nkrumah? You will not know because you don't read. So get to know something that is happening around you and know yourself better. Literature again expands one's horizon and knowledge as we learn about other people's culture and their behavior. This is one of the most important things that literature teaches us. We learn about people's culture, other people's way of life. You cannot sit here and live on your own and demand alone. It doesn't work that way. You have to have social, emotional, and moral. Then we have rules of literature in human and national development. For the first time, we have learned what literature is and types of literature, what development is and type of development. Let us look at the rules of literature in human and national development. Literature, 1, helps one understand one's history, origin, ethnic group, and culture. It will help you to understand your own nation. Development, how is a nation developing? Concerning the history, do they learn from their past history? Their origin, what is the origin of your country? You learn it through literature and it helps in developing your nation. What is your ethnic group? How do you now segregate or differentiate your people from your ethnic group? For people from that are not from your area, how do you regard them? How will it help to develop the nation? That is it. Again, it helps to transform a society. Literature helps to transform society. It helps to build the nation. How? It can transform society by actually reading and understanding what you have read. By understanding what you have read, you implement what you have read in a novel. If you read a novel about corruption, maybe police corruption or political people's corruption, people in power corruption, you can, if you are in power, you can as well learn from what you have read and improve on yourself. Then it helps in nation building. It helps in nation building in the sense that whatever you get from reading novels, from listening to news, from reading any literary work, anything written at all, will help you to improve in building your own nation. People in diaspora, they usually learn from there wherever they are and come down to implement what they have learned in their own country. That is, they help to build it concerning what they have learned in their own area, the development of what they have learned in wherever they are. They will bring it down to their own country to develop their own country. Literature serves as a foundation. It's a foundation where we stand to move. We cannot move being empty. We have to stand on a rock, and literature is that rock. You stand on it to enable you to develop your country, develop your nation, do everything good for your nation. It helps to bring about revolution. Exactly. Look at what happened during EndSARS. It was someone that videoed how policemen were treating a young man, and they sent it to they sent it out to, was it Facebook or Instagram or whatever, one of the social media handles, and it got to everybody, and people started reacting because police people have been maltreating young people, youth, and people knew it then. They knew it, but this one got them off the hook, and they started misbehaving. They started running up and down. They wanted revolution. They said, we did not want this government again. This administration is no longer for us. Let us move to another administration. And so they started revolution. Why? Through literature. Social media is literature. Anything written. And people started writing novels. We have so many novels on EndSARS. We have so many poems. I've written a poem on EndSARS. People learn, oh, this has been happening in this country. These novels, these poems, these dramas are outside Nigeria. So people started knowing so such a thing can happen in Nigeria, and they started running up and down for revolution. Yes, it was caused by literature. They didn't want the bad government. According to them, they want a new government that will take care of them and actually take care of their needs, give them employment, give them good schools, give them good environment, give them everything good that they require as youth. And then literature gives voice to people. Yes, authors, they have voice because they voice out what is happening in society. Those of us that write poems, novels, poetry, whatever you're writing, it gives you voice to talk to people and tell them what is actually happening in the society. And then finally, literature creates awareness of what transpires in government, churches, and every facet of society. It reflects the values and the ills of society by projecting the good values for people to emulate and the bad ones for people to be conscious of them and make those involved to retrace their steps. Literature for you. It teaches us the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you have ears, you listen and hear and understand and do what? Change, retrace your steps. That is literature for you. So you trace yourself and do the right thing at the right time. So that's literature.